Hey everybody, this is Sean Pitcher with the Roots Podcast. We are back for part 2 with Garrett Appier. There was a ton more information that we wanted to discuss and go over that there was no way we are going to be able to get done in one podcast. So that's why we're doing a second one. So Garrett, a couple of things I wanted to kind of move back a little bit on. I know we're a little bit all over the place in that first one. So this way we kind of give some more context to kind of the chronological dates of college and your pro experience and the Olympic Training Center. So if we can go back to Pittsburgh State, tell us a little bit about your experience there as a thrower, being a multi, national champion. Give us some insight on that. How was that process from college before you got to the pros?
I mean, couldn't have gone to a better spot. Mantooth is a heck of a coach. Still the best coach I've ever known. No offense to anybody, but we had a culture there that he built a long time ago that was just kind of tough, and it was like we talked about earlier as far as that first couple months, before that first meet, he just had a really good culture going of like the captains were tough. They were at every practice. They were really pushing the rest of the team. We had a lot of leaders to kind of show the freshmen kind of how things were done, what was expected. And when you have a culture already built and you walk into it, it's a lot easier to want to train hard, to want to work hard when everyone else is doing the same thing. So that culture was incredible. He's a heck of a coach. Obviously knows what he's doing in the weight room, knows what he's doing, in the throwing ring. And, the biggest thing about walking into a culture like that is, you have a team chemistry already there, at least within the throwers, because we're all basically it's a fundamental thing based on respect, but we're all working so hard that we respect each other for working hard. And then
Do you like each other or not?
Yep, whether you like each other or not, and I think that was we didn't always like. I just want to be clear. There was a
No,
lot
I
of
know. I remember.
there was a lot of throwers that didn't like each other, and even me and some other people didn't always get along. But we all were just busting our butt, and when you see that, you got to respect that, and so that helped us get along, and kind of hard work and respect kind of being the baseline of that. But the thing is the other coaches were also like that. That were Jewett and Russ and everybody, and Rutledge especially, who's the head coach now. I mean, they're all real hard, making their athletes work hard. And I think that too many coaches now, especially, try to be all about like, oh, we got to have team chemistry. We got to be team. Team is everything. Team this. But the reality is if you do not have everyone on the same page from the very beginning, as far as training hard, what the expectations are, that's going to be very difficult to achieve that, because what's going to happen is you're going to see you have one, especially in track, because you have so many event groups, right? You're going to have one event group who is just busting their butt, man, carrying everything, and then you're going to have everybody else, and it's just not going to be the same, like it's hard to look at another event group that's not busting their butt or working hard and be like, oh, we like you guys.
Yeah, it becomes apparent, right? You go to a meet, you're putting up all the points, but then let's say, because again, right, that's the one thing people don't think about track is, yeah, it's an individual event. Like, you're throwing and you're with yourself in the ring, and it's up to you to obviously throw the farthest you can to hopefully get more points and hopefully to win during that specific event. But if you look at it from a group perspective, you're in a group of throwers. Your entire team out of all the events has to score X amount of points for you to win the meet. So yeah, you could be selfish and like, well, I won my event. Well, that's great. But if let's say just the throwers all threw well and everyone else did terrible, y'all still lost. The team lost.
But I do feel like it starts with the event group, or in football position group, for example, like linemen, and I feel like a lot of coaches overlook this, and this is what Pitt has right. And I feel like if you're looking at Pitt State wondering how, like, now they're undefeated, they're going, towards a national championship of football currently. But also, like, just in track and field, they've won, I think, 3 national championships in the last couple of years. And even when I was there, I mean, we didn't win national championships as a team, but I think we won 5 or 6 conference championships in a row. And then the last year that I was around before I went to the Olympic Training Center, they won a national championship as a team. And I think it's because they had the baseline right, which the base team chemistry has to be event group first. You have to get the event groups right. You have to get the coaches in the event groups right. And everyone has to be on the same page of working hard. And if you're all working hard and you're all busting your butt and you all have similar standards, then naturally over time, the team will come together because they will respect each other.
Yep.
And that's
Regardless if they like each other or not. It's
yeah,
all
it won't matter because if you see a guy absolutely working his butt off in the weight room and killing it on the track, you're gonna notice that, and you're gonna be like, you know what, like we might not have agreements, but like that's a heck of an athlete. That's that kid's working hard. And if football is the same thing, if your linemen are absolutely killing themselves, pushing the sled, lift until they can't walk, like just absolutely crushing it. Your running back, quarterback, wide receivers, they're gonna notice that, and they're going to like the linemen, whether they like them personally or not, like there's going to be respect there. And I feel like respect is the absolute most essential thing if you're going to have like team camaraderie, is you just have to have that baseline of everyone thinks that everybody else is doing their job.
yeah.
And if your whole thing is like, well, we all want to be a team, let's do this, right? And you don't build that event group chemistry first, as far as making each event group like kind of its own thing, that whole thing's just not going to be very strong. It's going to be like a loosely glued, thing that's just going to fall apart. But if you have a solid and a solid, and then you bring them together and they merge into one, rock, I mean, that's what we're talking about. But you got to have your own individual things first that come together and then merge into something great. And I feel like that's what Pitt has going so well is they've nailed the event group, and the throwers have like a mentality. Actually, believe it or not, the team that we bonded with the most, and we call it a team because it's a different event group, but the throwers bonded with cross country super well, which is maybe about as opposite as you might imagine as like size and lifting compared to running. But we'd watch them run 10 miles. I mean, you had to respect that. That hurts. I mean,
It's not fun to watch, but like to
no.
be able to do that, and like they have to do it at a certain pace and speed to run that far, like it doesn't look like it's fun to watch, but to have to be involved in that type of long distance running, like that's challenging. And like it's like any sport, it's like what you said kind of a little bit earlier about your dad, right? Like nobody really sees all the hard work you're putting in behind the scenes. They see in that moment, what did you do? They see what was on the paper or your phone or social media, but they have sometimes zero clue, and they make all this criticism towards these individuals. But this person just spent hours and days and weeks and months and sometimes years to get to that point. And for like someone to like down and criticize that individual when they have zero clue how much goes into that, and the person probably making the criticism has never did anything harder their entire life.
Yeah, no, it's terrible when that happens. And just kind of going along with the theme that we were talking about as far as jumping from like college to professional, that's really the team aspect is what's missing at the professional level. I can tell you from experience. I was a huge like pressure person. Like I loved being excited. Like if I was nervous before a track meet, I knew it was going to be a good day. Just having the team count on you, and like, yeah, you have the throwers there and stuff, and they're hyping you up, especially like in college, and even in professional, like we still had that event group culture, because any good throws team or any good team in general has that event group culture, and the fact that all the throwers were hyping each other up, like we were all trying to get after it. But you don't have that overlapping, like the team is counting on you. You know what I mean? Because there is really no team unless you're like the top three in the US, which unfortunately, well, fortunately or unfortunately, fortunately for like the population of the US, we do have like three guys that could be the top three in the world. And also those are the top three in the US, and only the top three go. So if you're the fourth best thrower in the US, and maybe you're the fourth best thrower in the world, guess what? You ain't going. And I'm not, and that's a good thing for us. That means we've come a long way in the US as far as throwing, especially shot put wise. But yeah, I mean, they're just, until you get to that like Olympics or that World Championships, there is really like 99% of the meets that you're doing are basically like solo. It's you and your event group, and the event group's hyping you up and stuff. So I mean, that's cool. But you're not part of their team either. You're all kind of individual. And so I feel like the hardest transition for me, especially, was going from having an event group and having an overall team that we all kind of had each other's backs to having really nothing. Like, I mean, yeah, you have like the throwers you practice with and stuff, but they're not counting on you. I mean, if you suck, it's better for them. They get more money, right? So, they're still they're rooting you on, but at the same time, like
they want to win or they want to make the money, like regardless.
Yes. But like when you're in college, those throwers, like they need you to score so that they can win too. The rest of the team needs you to score so they can win too. And yeah, I just, I feel like that really lacks it. And that really hurt me because although you would by no means ever consider me like a super team guy because I'm just not that social. I did like, I lived for Pitt State. I loved that track team, and we knew everybody's names or at least as many as we could. We had like 120 kids on the team, but we knew as many kids as we could. And then we really learned the other events. I kind of knew what good times was in the sprints. I kind of knew what a good jump was. I knew, like even the steeple.
You spent the time and you were able to at least know what each event time needs to be. You knew people from those events. So regardless, like if you knew their full name or not, like you or multiple team members invested in the rest of the team to know each other.
And that baseline was that, we had a really badass event group. The throws took care of business. And then we knew cross country took care of business. We knew the jumps took care of business. And that overall respect kind of led us to liking each other, at least to as a team aspect of it. And then when you have that team chemistry, then you want to, win as a team. And so, yeah, we took notice. We learned what other people did. We learned what was good and what wasn't good. And I still remember the best race that I've ever watched to this day in track. And I know some people are gonna be like, oh, well, there's like really good ones on YouTube, but there was a guy who will probably, I don't know if people ever know of him, but Talon Thompson. Okay. This guy, 3K, like steeplechase guy. Okay. We're conference championships. We had a rough first day. Like we had a rough first day. Conference is multiple days long, right? First day, not so good. Okay. We didn't do what we needed to do to try to win this conference championship. And we're all sitting up on top of this hill, and we're looking down at the track. And there's talent, and I've talked to him a few times. I don't know that much about him. He's long distance 3K, but I've seen him, and I knew his name, and I knew that he was supposed to get. I think he was supposed to get 9th or 10th. He wasn't supposed to place, right? Well, this is a long race, right? We're talking 400 meter each lap. So I mean, they're just running laps and laps and laps, hitting these steeples or whatever like that. And we're all, we're cheering him on because the throws are on a break for a while. So all the throwers are kind of on this hill just watching Talon run. And, like, oh, let's go Talon. And then all of a sudden, man, it was like the last like 3 laps. He just took off in a dead sprint. I remember we were watching it and we were like, there's no, like, he just took off. I was like, oh, he's too early. Like, there's no way he's going to make
it too early. Like if he does that, he's going to like just die out fast.
Yeah, he hits 1,200 meters of like, there's no way, or maybe he's just trying to get to a better place, or I don't know what he's doing, like there's no way he's gonna like. So we're watching it, and like I remember like the thrower, we're looking at each other, going like, dude, he's in a full sprint. There's 3 laps left, and we're like, oh man, like that's not good. But man, he just caught one guy, and moved up to 9th. I think he was 10th at the time. Caught another guy, moved up to 8th, moved up to 7th, to 6th, to 5th, and he just keeps running. Like, and just we're talking a dead sprint for 1,200 meters. And for any of you who don't know how difficult that is, you go ahead and go to a track and go ahead and run 3 laps as hard as you possibly can. After running 2,000 meters before that.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, he's just killing it. And we watch him and he gets to that last lap and he just like, it's like, something possessed him or something, man. He just like he's just pushing through it. And you can tell his legs are hurting because, like they start using their arms because their just legs are completely shot. And he just won't give up, man. And he goes all the way. And I think he got 3rd and he like fell at the finish line to get 3rd. I think he passed somebody else like at the finish line with his chest, like fell forward and like took the 3rd. And I mean, like, yeah, well, he didn't win it, but it was just like we knew enough to know what a performance that was.
Yeah.
And we just got hype. And next thing you know, we go out and we just start.
Everyone else starts getting hype. It's
oh my, yeah. We won pole vault. I won shot shortly after that on my last throw. I had some buddies, Luke and everybody, throw hammer really well. We threw discus. I mean, yeah, like
just a motivator like that. That kid has grit. That kid showed you like he wanted this more than anything. So then if the rest of the group is able to see that and they could feed off of that, they're like, if he just almost passed out and sprinted 3 full laps as hard as he could, like, what's my excuse not to go out and just go crush my event right now? Because he just showed me like he's giving it for the team and he wants to get points and he wants to help us out. And then he wasn't even supposed to place, and he just went from not placing to third.
Yeah, and I mean, he didn't get up for. I mean, he was dead. he was he was on the track. And no, it did. It was like, wow. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, I think that the baseline of any team chemistry is you need to build that individual that group toughness as far as like if you're lineman, if you're throws, you need to build that individual toughness and you need to be working hard. And then, that team chemistry, you can make some events or stuff like that to try to bring the team together. There's nothing wrong with that. But if everyone's not working hard or on the same page, then there's no amount of team bonding that you can try to do to try to overcome that. So I feel like, that's just the basics is like everyone's got to, all the event coaches and all of the position coaches got to be on the same page. You got to be pushing everybody and you got to hold everyone to the same standards. Like that's the thing that Pitt did so well is everyone had the same standards. If you weren't at practice, I mean, you got punished. I mean, there was a punishment for that, and everybody on the team had to deal with that.
Good luck with the Prowler. That's all I gotta say. Prowler flu is in your future.
Yeah, Prowler, or I'll never forget one time.
Make you crawl one time. I feel like you do crawls or something.
No, I think the worst one, the craziest one I remember is, like I said, I wasn't perfect, right? I never said I was, and I did bad stuff or whatever. But there was a time where my buddy had gone through a rough breakup, and he just couldn't get it together, and it happens, especially when you're younger and you're dealing with those first first love things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was my best friend, so I was like, what, I'm just gonna I'm gonna hang out with him, and I we didn't text the coach that we were gonna that anything had happened or whatever like that, but finally it's about I don't know 30 minutes after practice would have started, and the coach texts us and goes, "Where are you?" Well, I'm not gonna repeat his language.
Yeah, where the F are you guys at?
Yeah, there was some where are you basically. And so I texted him back the story. I said, "Hey, like this happened, he's having a rough practice or he's having a rough day and I'm with him or whatever." And we had just put down like a large shake from Brahms. Like, we are not ready to go to practice by any means.
You're gonna throw up.
Yeah. And he said, I'm not gonna repeat what he said, but basically I don't care. Like, you better get over here now. We're at Slinger Park, which is like that's where we go to run hills. And so we go to after eating a large chocolate shake and stuff, we were sitting at Brahms while we were texting. And so we just ate a large chocolate shake and some food, and we're just stuffed beyond comprehension. And he's like, "All right, you got a hill workout." And we were like, "Oh man!" And that, like they said, there was just repercussions. Like you could never just miss practice. And a lot of that goes back to what I was saying about how they don't move the meet day for you. Stuff sucks. And he was sympathetic with my buddy that had just happened. He said, "Hey man, I'm here for you. I'm sorry that happened, but you can't miss practice. There's expectations here. You cannot you can't miss the meet because this happens. You can't you have to be at practice." And so it was,
That's good because a lot of coaches now would just give him a day off.
No, he was sympathetic, but at the same time he was that was his way of building toughness, was you got to be able to perform no matter what. And we understood that. He made that clear. He made that he made that point. We got it. And then, we ran the hill workout, and it was the best hill workout we ever did. And somehow we didn't throw up, but, it's just that, but the whole team was like that. And I think that's what really made the team chemistry, was the fact that everybody was on the same page and everybody was working so hard. And I feel like that just gets so lost now because coaches just let people have the day off, or they just let. And like I said, I'm not saying you have to be an asshole about it, but at the same time, you got to establish some kind of toughness builder. And being at practice every day, believe it or not, is a toughness builder, because it's hard to go work your butt off
every day,
every single day. And if you can do that, odds are you're going to have some mental toughness. You're going to have some character. If you can go to practice every day, no matter what's going on, that's something right there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can build from that. You can build from that. And that's, that was one thing he was really good at, and that's one thing Pitt was really good at, and that's what was really lacking at the training center, because at the training center there really wasn't. I mean,
you
get.
I was going to transition right in there. Let's talk about your experience there. Yeah. One, let's go into what exactly you're going to transition to, but then two, I'd also love you to tell us about how having a lot of those resources at the training center, did that help you? Was it really no different?
Well, like I said, the worst thing about the training center was that you didn't have a team. Now you had an event group, but like I said, they're cheering for you and they're hyping you up. And it was a good training group, but nothing to those guys because they were like Ryan was phenomenal. Tunde, I love that guy. John Jones, phenomenal dude. And there was more like Sean Don, hammer thrower, he's great. And then Michael Shue was one of my roommates, a great dude. Josh Freeman, lifted hard. Those guys, I'm sorry if I missed anybody, but yeah, those guys were, great dudes. They always pushed for each other. But yeah, when you get to the meet at the end of the day, I mean, like if you do worse, it helps them. So I mean, we're hyping each other up, and I think it's genuine to an extent for sure, because it's more like we want to like be better, like we just want to be better ourselves. But yeah, there really isn't like a team counting on you. If you fail, it really just messes you up. And I feel like that hurt me in particular because I just came from such a team environment where we had like
transition.
Yeah, so much camaraderie and even practices. I mean, I trained for a year on my own before I went to the training center, and that was one of the hardest years of my life, really, because all my friends had graduated basically. I didn't really know anybody on the team. Like I knew all the younger kids, but I wasn't really friends with them.
Yeah.
And also I was kind of the old guy at that point, who was like still training. And that was a hard year, but like I said, the training center, the guys there were great, but yeah, you just didn't have that team camaraderie. Now the resources were phenomenal, and I will warn anybody though, there is a honeymoon phase with some of that stuff because this was part of the learning curve, man. But I threw more than I'd ever thrown when I went to the training center. Like we went through days where I was throwing 70 or 80 throws, and I have never probably thrown more than 30 or 40 in a day. And so yeah, there was some fatigue going on. And you can get massages, before you can get stretched out and stuff. Like usually in college, we don't really get any of that stuff, right? Like especially track.
D3, D2. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know about Division I track, but yeah, I would assume you're probably not getting all the perks regardless of what level it is.
No, and no offense to the trainers at Pitt, but it was pretty much ibuprofen and ice was the answer to everything.
Which you probably found out very quickly. That's not the only thing you could do to recover.
Yeah, yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I'm sure and I'm sure they've learned, and they have a much bigger training staff now. Back in the day, it was just two guys dealing with every sport.
Yeah,
at a D2, that was pretty big, as far as sport wise. So I understand, like they didn't have time.
Point there too. It's like we had a head strength coach. There was two of us GAs. We had the two athletic trainers and two athletic training GAs. We had that whole brand new facility when I came in. It's like to have that at a D2 level at the time was nuts. Like nobody had that.
And I was there long before that new facility came.
So. You knew what it was when there was it was in the dungeon weight room.
Yeah, they were still telling me they were gonna have that built when I was a sophomore, and that was about 3 or 4 years late. But anyway, yeah, so getting massages, getting all that stuff was and by the way, massages at the Olympic Training Center are not like luxurious. They are like digging in, like we're gonna get this stuff worked out. So by any means, if you think that those massages were lovely, you have no idea what you're talking about, because it's like every single spot that you don't want somebody to like put a finger in real hard and like just push on that muscle and just like grind out like your calves and grind like the bottoms of your feet, like something you would never expect to hurt. Like they just dig in there and like, oh my, it's just pain. Like, yeah, I mean,
did you feel better afterwards though?
Yes, but it was like an excruciating, like whatever massage I did. So, but you could get stretched out and stuff where they like, if your hamstring was bothering you, they would like do that stuff. And there was a honeymoon phase with that where I would get some help with that. But the problem was I realized very quickly that sometimes your muscles are tighter in certain spots for a reason. And my perfect example of that's like my lower back, right? If I got too flexible, and this was part of me and maybe this is just me, so I'm not going to speak for others, but if I got too flexible or too loose and stuff, when I'd go to throw, my back I'd be really flexible, but the problem is that would put the rotation aspect of the throw on my spine and instead of my muscles. And so I learned very quickly that you do want to be warmed up and you do want to be stretched, but at the same time, like
certain modalities that you were like, these work really good for me, and it transfers better into either recovery or you're feeling good in the ring. And these other modalities should probably limit these or not do a lot of them because it causes you to feel like this. Even if it's, let's say, I'm not going to say it wasn't, but let's say it's a placebo effect, right? And it makes you feel this way. It's really not worth it if it's going to cause a negative consequence.
Yeah, and that's what happened. I ended up getting like I'd get so warmed up, like because I never got warmed up like in my life, basically. Like I would
Oh, I
stretch
remember you
before.
just walk in and start going.
No, I mean I had stretches. I had stretches like my arms and I mean I had a routine that worked for me, but I wouldn't describe it as being super loose by any means. Like I would just be warmed up. But I always thought that that was like if I got more loose, it would help me. And instead, what ended up happening is it actually ended up as I got more loose, it hurt more. Um, like my back would hurt more. I'd over rotate, like which without being like a rotational thrower, it's kind of hard to explain this, but basically you're twisting yourself up into a corkscrew when you try to throw, and at the last minute you're releasing it all. And so having some tightness to stop you from over rotating can be helpful, especially with someone who has had a couple injuries with their lower back. And so yeah, I just kind of there was definitely a like a honeymoon phase where I got too worked up too much and ended up hurting me. So like to anybody who's new to that stuff, I would just recommend that, take it easy. Like don't do more than you have to do. Make sure that you take advantage of those resources, but don't abuse them. Because they can end up hurting you. And yeah, what I eventually ended up doing was taking advantage of it. I was able to get once a week. I got a massage at the end of the week when I was done training, to kind of help me recover over the weekend. And it was a painful massage, but I mean it helped. And then I'd go into the hot tub on Wednesday. They had a hot tub, which was great because that wasn't something I was used to. So like every Wednesday was the day where I didn't lift. And so I'd go to the hot tub for like no more than 15 minutes because anything over 15 minutes was like excessive. Um, and yeah, I just and then if I had like injuries or whatever, I'd work with the training staff, and that was great. And
Yeah,
so
how is having like obviously I know you had essentially strength coaches there, but like having a consistent strength coach and a dietitian that's available, and I don't know if they
uh,
had a sports psychologist, or like how
well,
is having those individuals?
fortunately, living with you for a while, man, I kind of had the nutrition thing kind of figured out. But no, it was great having that. And you just need to listen to them honestly, and that nutritionist agreed with a lot of things that you said. That had already kind of started implementing. The thing about the training center that made it so easy was that you had like it was made for you. So all you had to do was go down to like that was the easiest thing. You just went down to
See,
eat breakfast. Just went down to eat. So that was great. And then I had a great strength coach, Jamie Myers. I mean, absolute stud. Like this guy could tell you, like, you brought up any lifting program to him. He knew the lifting program. He had tried it. He could tell you what he did or didn't like about it. He could tell you what sport he would or wouldn't use it with and how he would implement it. And so just phenomenal. I think he's up in Wyoming now, in that area. But yeah, and I mean, I think the training center since then has that particular. There's a bunch of them. Just to be clear, there's a bunch of Olympic training centers. Most people don't know, but that particular training center is now something different than what it was. But um, yeah, I mean, it was having access to all that stuff was great. And if you ever get the opportunity as an athlete to go to that stuff, I highly recommend it. Just make sure that don't get carried away with having all that stuff. Like
yeah.
remember where you came from, remember what does and doesn't work for you, and don't try to like reinvent yourself. Like there's a reason that certain stuff worked for you. And you should definitely grow as an athlete, but don't abuse those privileges because they can end up getting you hurt. So
Yep.
yeah, and yeah, I think that's all about that.
So, kind of transitioning from there, I know you had. I just want to briefly touch on. I know you had Olympic trial opportunity where you got to throw in there. I don't know if you could touch on that a little bit. I know that's not many people in the whether it's in the world or whether it's in the U.S. like get that opportunity to be able to throw an Olympic trial, like, let alone get to go to and obviously get to the Olympics. But how was that experience being involved in that moment?
Yeah, I mean it was I'll never forget it. It's hard as a college athlete 'cause the first time I went was when I was just that senior year, 2016, when I was graduating. It's hard to train all the way from August all the way to July. It's hard to lift that hard, but we managed it the best we could. It was Mantu's kind of first experience with that as well. So we were kind of like making it happen together. But no, it was a phenomenal experience. I mean, I'd never been in a track and field event with that many people. I mean, we're talking a full packed stage. It's like a football game.
Yeah, for just track.
um, for track, and it's never felt that before. It was crazy. I got to One of the coolest things about it is I got to meet Adam Nelson, who was my hero as like a thrower. He actually came out of retirement to throw at the trials, and believe it or not, man, sat right next to me in the warm up tent. Didn't know, like, I didn't know who I was. He just sat down next to me, and the first thing, he was wearing this cool shirt with like a rainbow on it that his kids had gotten him. And he took over and he said, "Hey, I'm Adam Nelson. You know, how are you?" And I was like, I just stuck my hand out, said,
You were just like
"I'm good."
shocked. You're like,
Yeah,
no way.
I was like, "Dude, I'm Garrett Appier. I'm your biggest fan, man." Like, and no, that was the coolest thing. And little known fact is, I actually, you know, he obviously come out of retirement stuff, but I actually beat him with my second to last throw. He got I got sixth at that Olympic trials. He got seventh. So I got to say that I got to beat my hero in the last meet. But no, that guy was phenomenal, and really just watching him compete and the way he addressed people was so cool. You know, he shook everybody's hand. You know, he didn't
He's a
have,
professional.
yeah, he was just, yeah, just a heck of a person, man. I wish I got to know him better, but he officially retired, retired after that.
After that.
And he lives, far away, so I never really got to interact with him very much. But no, it was incredible thing, incredible day to do that, and to throw in front of all those people was awesome. And just the pressure was different. I mean, like, you had to throw 20 meters to make finals, which is the top 12, by the way,
Mhm.
which has never in the history, like, that was the first. Now it's happening, like
All
this
the
past
time.
recent,
Yeah.
happens all the time. But 2016, it had always taken, like, 18, 50, 19 or something like that to make finals, and now it's like it was 20 was the base, and I was able to get a good throw and make it in. And then, yeah, like, we trained for this, but having to throw the same day is a terrible thing. Like, having to throw finals, like, not right then, but like wait like 5 hours and then go throw at night. And
Mm.
like that's hard to do too, because your adrenaline just doesn't replenish that fast. I mean, it can, but like, I was eating
Plus,
everything
if
I
you put
could.
a lot of effort into those initial throws, it's like
Oh yeah, I mean, my max at the time was like 2087 or something like that, and so to try to throw 20 was, that's near my full effort, like, and that's with everything going right. So yeah, that was hard, but no, we got it done, and it was an incredible experience. And I was able, like I said, I was able to get a throw out over Adam Nelson, which was cool. And just to compete with him, I was actually in the same ring with him, the same flight. Like,
it's
it
awesome.
was it was amazing. And yeah, I got sixth. And what sucks is that throw that I threw at the Olympics, or sorry, the Olympic trials would have gotten me, in that top six range at the Olympics.
Hmm.
The U.S. is
That's
just
crazy.
stacked. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just stacked. So I could have gone for a lot of other countries, but I'm proud to be proud to be USA. You just got to be better. And unfortunately, I never was able to make it into that meet, but it would have been cool to go. But and I almost went again. 2020, I almost got back in, but I did qualify. I mean, I qualified to the meet, but then I had that hip injury. In fact, I threw my personal best indoor, and was getting ready for outdoor, was getting ready to open up outdoor when that happened. And that was only about a month and a half before the trials. So I was excited to try to get that 20. I'd thrown 2150, like, around that, and I just hadn't gotten in a meet, and I just wanted to get in a meet before I called it a day. And it never happened, but it's all good. You get those. I got that experience once, and that was awesome.
Yeah. Now let's to just kind of wrap up, this part two. Could you give us a couple of things that you feel has been different? Like, now you're on the other side, you're actually a coach, right? You're not an athlete anymore, been coaching, I think you said, the last like 5 years, college, high school. How does it feel being on the other side now and being able to reciprocate what you've learned and obtained now to other individuals?
It's been the best. I mean, coaching is my favorite thing. Um, I was not a perfect athlete. I made a lot of mistakes. It took a long time for me to get mature enough to do everything that I needed to do. And I think just that struggle has kind of helped me relate a lot more to the athletes that I've worked with. But I mean, there is a learning curve to coaching. It does take time, and really, experience does matter. And I think that being able to help kids understand how the world works, at least, as far as like how, like, at the end of the day, they're just going to see your results, but at the same time, like, being nurturing and helping them, like, not beating them up, but just like So this is the real way of the world that you haven't been exposed to, and kind of showing them the way, and then also teaching them how to push past their boundaries, like how to deal with failure. Like that's lifelong lessons. I'm not one of those big people. It's like you should always, coach for more than just your sport and stuff. But at the same time, the lessons that we're teaching in the sport do go beyond the sport. They being able to push past your limits is something that you can use no matter what. Like there's no situation
In any realm, it
where,
doesn't matter if you're an athlete or not.
yeah, no, like just you had some kids and they're making you stay up all night and you're just at your limit, just having that mental toughness to be like, you know what, like I gotta stay up. Like, I gotta go to work and and just being able to push through stuff, you know, that is always useful. You go through a rough breakup, you feel like you feel like you can't go on, but you can, like deep down, you can. So, like there's just so many situations. You're exhausted. You worked 5 day a week, but you got to work on the house on the weekend. And you just got to get it. You have to get your mind right and get it taken
Yeah.
care of. And, there's just so many situations where being able to push past your limits is so helpful. And then just being mentally tough. I mean, life's hard. Like especially when you get out on your own, like I said, right now I'm coaching high school kids, so life is tough, and being able to help them, kind of be able to deal with that in a healthy way, and not just give up when life throws curveballs at them, because I mean it's just there's just so much goes into
Yeah.
what's going to happen to you someday. Like you don't know where life's going to take you. You don't know how tough it's going to be. Some people do get, well, I don't know anyone who's had a perfectly streamlined, so I mean it's going to be rough at
I
some
know.
point.
There's
Yeah,
nobody out there. There's nobody.
yeah, so it's going to be rough at some point, so
Perfect's
just
the word of the dictionary, but perfect in life, there's no one that's ever perfect. No matter how much they think they are, that's impossible.
yeah, so just teaching kids the way of the world in a nurturing, like nicer way than maybe I experienced when I was a kid, and being able to help those kids like really succeed and learn how to deal with failure has been a blessing. And also just teaching them to learn from my mistakes. Like, hey man, like I sucked at sleeping. Like I slept 4 to 5, 6 hours a night. It shortened my career by probably 5 years. It aged me faster than I should have been aged. I didn't get to recover. I had more injuries than I should have had.
Yeah.
Like I can look a kid in the eye and tell him honestly, like this is the reality. Like I probably
You,
lost
you
four
just
or five. I lost 4 or 5 years off my career because I just wouldn't go to sleep on time. Something that stupid,
that, that's
but
100% of your control.
yeah, but so important. Like some so stupid, so important. And then also just eating right. Like, I did get a lot better like later in college and even in my pro of eating better. And that was a big development. But yeah, like you gotta eat, you gotta sleep, and then learning, you know, what not to do in the weight room. Like, I had a lot of injuries from doing stupid stuff, and learning that and learning how to help, you know, steer kids on a path to being more like weight room intelligent, I
Yeah.
guess, and learning proper form and what not to do. It's just been a great experience, and I'm thankful for it, and that's what I love doing. I'm gonna keep doing it until I can't. So
And I think that, a couple things you said in there, the one thing it's nice for me, right? Like you were one of my athletes, or you were obviously someone that I educated on nutrition. And it was great. It's great to hear that, hey, went to the training center. A lot of the stuff you said helped me. They agreed on it. Or we go back to relationships, right? Like we're still here. It's 2022. We still
yeah,
chat on and off throughout the year. We still have a relationship, and like that's the things you're never going to be able to replace from that standpoint from athletics. Like you're going to have all those relationships, those friends, people that love and care about you. And I think at the end of the day, that's what it really boils down to. But
yeah.
Garrett, I really appreciate having you on. If people listen to this and don't get something from it, I would be shocked. There's lots of good information in there, lots of good key baseline basic things that I think every person needs if they're an athlete, if they're a coach. So if you want to get a hold of Garrett, I'm going to have his bio information on the bottom of the video. If you want to get a hold of myself, my information will be there as well. But again, I really appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday and speaking to everybody. And this is going to be a really great couple of episodes for everyone to listen to.
No, it's been awesome, man. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
See ya.